President Trump just posted something on Truth Social that Ali just linked to in the chat. And this is one of the biggest signs that we have had. This is just from how long ago this is from? This is from moments ago. Moments ago. Look at this. Let me share it with you guys as well. It's very short, very to the point. He's saying, I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives in quotation. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable. Wow. Okay, totally unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. Oh, that's it. It just ends right there. Oh my god. It's so short. I need to read it again. I have just, guys, this is what we have been waiting for. We have been waiting for because President Trump just came up with a new deadline for what the Islamic Republic is going to say. This is one of the most clear indications that we're going to go back to boom booms, as Goldie says. Boom booms incoming. I don't know what you guys think, but it seems like it's back on. Look at this. Let me read it again. This is fascinating. I like this so much. I want to read it again. I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. I like how straight to the point he is here, okay? Totally unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So that I was going to use my segment to bring attention to something else that seems to be an indication that we're about to start strikes against the Islamic Republic inside Iran, not just at the Strait of Hormuz and around the Persian Gulf, but I had some other evidence for this to suggest, and I was going to ask you guys how significant that is. But because Ali posted this in the chat, this is my main this is my main evidence for us to consider. But I'm going to also add the stuff that I was going to bring up. There's this ship. There's this ship called the MV Ocean Trader. Have you guys heard of it? The MC Ocean Trader. So let me show you a very short Fox News segment, like 35 seconds about this, and then I'm going to show you what this is and why this might be a big deal.
Just in, the U.S. Special Operations Command ship, the Ocean Trader, was just spotted near our base in Diego Garcia. The last time it came out to play, the Maduro raid. The ship hasn't even been photographed in 3 years. These things come packed with super stallions, ospreys, night stalkers, with a 50 caliber machine gun station on the upper deck and a floating command center. This could mean something's about to go down.
So let me actually bring this other post about it. I saw many Iranians talking about this, and then I went and see on English social media to see if they're talking about it as well, and then I'm like, yep, apparently they are. Okay, so the MV Ocean Trader, a U.S. Special Operations Command U.S. Special Operations Command floating command center. Wait, there's two commands here. Oh, that's part of the name and that's part of the description. Okay, so it's basically a U.S. Special Operations Command floating command center carrying special forces has been spotted at Diego Garcia via Sentinel-2. Is that the name? Satellite imagery alongside an Arleigh, I don't know how to pronounce that, whatever this is, class destroyer and Arleigh Burke class destroyer and USNS, what the hell, Pilao, I don't know how to pronounce that. It typically arrives in theater ahead of covert complex special operations, including special ground operations. The Ocean Trader was last operationally deployed off Venezuela's coast in late 2025 in the lead up to the January 3 capture of Nicolas Maduro by U.S. Special Forces. and these are the satellite images showing it. So yeah, I don't know how big of a deal this is. On Iranian social media, many people were talking about this, saying that this is a big deal and get ready. So I just wanted to see if the people here, Jeffrey, maybe can you tell me how big of a deal this is and how significant this is?
So that's very much, that ship is very much tied to things like special operations. It's not meant to do mass strikes or something. This is very much a command center for special operations people to do stuff. That's why that's there.
Okay. And is it an indication that maybe we're getting ready for something big?
So all the other indicators I outlined, it adds to the other indicators we previously talked about. I went down the line of what the meeting of 12 kind of means, at least from a analyst perspective, what the increased drone surveillance means and or airstrikes means in the particular areas that they're at. It's very much another indicator that's pointing in the direction of Donald and Bibi are very much done with these people's bullshit, and they're getting ready to sit there and make sure that they understand that one way or another, you're not going to become a nuclear power.
Okay. Okay. And who's next?
All right. So to respond, Lindsey Graham also tweeted a couple of things saying stay tuned and that Project Freedom Plus sounds pretty good right now. So I wanted to talk about what Project Freedom Plus means, okay? So we'll start Project Freedom again, but this time, so we open the Strait of Hormuz on our side, okay? Persian Gulf Arab states get on board. We tell the regime, if you fire at us this time, that's it. We're going full in, no love taps. We give Israel the green light. They start up the kinetic operations again the same way they were doing before. So the checkpoints, missile launchers, everything. We let them finish the job. We don't stop them. Then the US joins in on the kinetic strikes. The proxies that were brought in are no longer being paid. So we start dropping bombs on them to remind them of the fact that they're not being paid. We've been talking about arming the Iranian people. Keep doing it. I'm sure some of them have already been armed. They're suffering the most devastating economic situation, right? Food inflation is the highest. So they're going to come out, and we don't actually get to choose when they come out, which is something I've been saying forever. Just like before, they came out, then Prince Reza Pahlavi started giving them direct orders. They're the boots on the ground. We give them the Reaper drones, Dark Eagles, just like Said Ghassanija was talking about. Hopefully more than 100, maybe like 200 drones even over the largest cities. And we proceed forward with that.
I hope you're right. All right, who's next?
Guy?
I'll add one sentence. At 9 p.m. Israel time, which was like a bit less than 3 hours ago, Netanyahu has left a convention of the Druze community abruptly, like unexpectedly, to have a phone conversation with Trump.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, and then they met with the limited cabinet right afterwards, and then all these posts started coming out. Kelly, you're next.
Hey, Armin, thank you. As always, my family thanks you, and thank you for being here. Sorry, I got a little choked up with the sketch.
Oh.
I guess my question to you and Jeffrey and Ollie and Guy, I guess, would be, I don't know if you could answer this, but would you have a time frame for after they go in and bomb them for the revolution, the ground revolution for the Shah and the Shabanams?
I'm going to give you the most disappointing answer ever. I don't have a time frame. But here's something, here's what I know. It will happen. Here's the part that I know. It will happen. But what I don't know, and I don't think if anyone else knows, we don't know when. Right? So let me tell you historically, people predicted when the Iranian people will uprise, and then they didn't at the time that they expected, and then their new calculation was that, okay, so they're not going to uprise given that they didn't do the uprising at the time that we thought they would, and then they were wrong again because they did an uprising when the situation was right based on what they were observing on the ground, and it was always bigger than what people imagined. every time it was bigger than what people imagine. So it's usually not when people think, and it's also once it doesn't happen, people assume that it's over, but then it happens. That has historically been the case, right? And it's really hard to come up with an estimation of this because this cannot be managed and controlled and planned from the top down. This is more of a wisdom of the crowd, trial and error, small testing of the amount of resistance that you're facing on the ground here and there for the initial, and also a spark, as a spark that starts it and then it explodes, right? So this is more of a like a trial and error based on a lot of data that just gets exchanged in the crowd without a central command base being able to figure out exactly when this going to happen or when to command this from happening. This is why Prince Reza Pahlavi's leadership of the Iranian people is a two-way command call to action from him, but also collecting information from the crowd to Prince Reza Pahlavi to basically see when the organic timing for the uprising seems to be taking place. Prince Reza Pahlavi comes and becomes a catalyst and directs and amplifies it in the right direction, right? So that's what he does. He understands that you cannot just make it happen by commanding it. You have to actually listen to the people and see when this is possible. Another thing that we observe usually, and this does not mean it's a rule, is that it usually doesn't happen during war, and it doesn't usually happen close to war. This time it might be different, right? Because I see so many Iranians. Here's something else I could report to you. Every single person and every single one of my friends that I get in touch with from inside Iran, first they tell me about how horrible their situation is, but then they also tell me that they can't wait to go back into the streets and topple the regime. They're just waiting to get back into the streets. There seems to be a huge amount of anger among the anti-regime Iranian people that just can't wait for the uprising, right? So that anger is there and it's just ready to explode. But the timing of it is really hard to for anybody to predict. I don't know. Does that even answer your question? It probably doesn't.
It helps. Everything in here always helps. So I think we all want the magic answer, right? Like how long this is gonna take.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm willing to stick my neck out and say that pretty much a couple of weeks after the strikes end, if that helps at all. But Sketch, you're next.
Wait, before
sorry,
before we go to Sketch, but actually the thing is that usually there's two types of sparks that causes an uprising in Iran, right? It's either economical or oppression, somebody being abused type of spark. So it's either violence by the regime on people or economic related, and it's never about that. It like the uprising ends up being about toppling the regime. It doesn't become about economic improvement. It doesn't turn. It's the uprisings are not about we want better treatment from the Islamic Republic or we want an economic reform by the Islamic Republic. The uprising will always turn into we want to end the Islamic Republic, but economic situations and abuse by the regime on people are the two types of sparks that we see, right? So for example, the Mahsa uprising that we saw, the spark was what they did to Mahsa Amini, but the more recent Lion and Sun revolution that we saw, December and then early January, was because of it was an economic spark. And what you can see to support Ali's maybe in theory maybe is that the number of sparks economically is the number of things that could lead into a spark where people get frustrated and come back into the streets is higher than it has ever been. Like every single other uprising that we saw that had a spark that was the reason why we had an uprising, the economic situation was not as bad as what we're seeing right now. So many people expect an uprising to happen sooner rather than later because the conditions are unbearable. All right, so sketch.
I was going to talk about the points on the graph. Now, what we're seeing, what makes us something's going to happen is that we're having more points and more points on the graph that they're making a line towards sooner rather than later. We had, I think it was Mike Levin talking about MQ-9 Reapers supporting protesters. We had, we're already talking about arming people. We're already talking about having a ghost ship. We're already talking about the Boxer being en route. We have rearm and resupply has just happened. We're having Trump saying this deal sucks. I'm not happy. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I think there's a couple of more that I'm missing here. There was like a meeting of 12, something like that. There's a lot of things that are pointing to sooner rather than later on strikes. Now, what happens after the strikes? And Jeffrey can probably speak on this. What happens immediately after the strike? I would imagine that one of the things that would happen was air support. Like what you saw the other day was a whole bunch of flak cannons hitting into the air. Like air defense usually throws a bullet that explodes in the air. So you see a bright thing in the air, and those are bullets that are exploding so they can hit anything that's up there, right? I would imagine they would try to hit everything that them going off with the flak was just snitching out their own position. They're just self-snitching. So I would imagine they would take that out, and they would have MQ-9 Reapers in the air supporting in case anything happens in the streets, right? As soon as the bombing stops. That's what I would imagine. And I would also ask Jeffrey to speak on it, but Jeffrey has a tendency to call the people that back Iran and Iran by their name and last name. He doesn't just say Russia. He says, Russia, those illegal mafia bastards. He says all the names. He says, Shaikom, he's Shaikom bastard. He says 4 names when he says Russia. I know him. I know he just means Russia, but he tells them by their first name and last name. But for people that are in the military,
people. He could just say Russia and China. He just confuses people. But
some people don't get it. But it's an urge. It's like when you say that guy you don't like, Joey, that bastard. That it's in there. You feel it. But he could speak as to more into this, like how these people would operate. But I would imagine that soon after the bombing stops, you would be supporting anything that happens on the ground, and you would have any tactical operations, special forces, deltas that you have in the area, you would want them to start operating.
Okay.
All right, Jeffrey, please.
Very apt question about sequencing. They all touched on it. There's a reason that they do what they do, and it's bottom up, and it's very much that's for operational security reasons for Iranian people, so that those mullah fuckers don't kill more kids. Yeah. As far as giving you a general timeline, if they go forward with the mass strike that I outlined, I sent to you guys, like the rough draft version of it, 5 days, $5 billion, the regime is completely wiped out. All the way down. Every ground force is destroyed. Every tank, APC, artillery, towed, and fucking self-propelled, both of cannon and rocket type. Every helicopter, everything in the Strait of Hormuz is obliterated. Every headquarters beyond, even below the provincial headquarters for the IRGC and Besiege are pulverized. Every leadership in the IRGC and Besiege, all the way down to the lieutenant, is dead. After that's also the reason why, again, His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi, I can't speak from because I don't live in his head. I'm just saying, given where I'm thinking, what I'm looking at, is very wisely kept his cards close to his chest on the elements inside Iran, say with the Artesh or the broader Iranian resistance. They don't want them just to go off half-cocked, right? So if it goes the way I advocated, me and some of the Maximum Hawk guys advocated, in 5 days, the regime as it exists will be completely gone. That does not, understand something though, that does not mean that you don't have all the executionary elements of these fuckers, right? So all the Besiege, Durka douchebags that run around raping kids and putting them in vans, all the execution element. I don't want to call them a private because it would be an insult to a professional soldier. Let's just call them the peons. Yeah, I like that. Those guys are still there, which is again why His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi is keeping his resources close to his chest, because they're going to need them to help flesh those guys out. It's also why Armin, me, and others work so hard to try and set up the track 2 material support to give lethal, non-lesser, and kinetic, like non-kinetic, lesser kinetic, and kinetic track 2 material support to Iranian resistance. I understand. And yeah, Sketch got me too, man. That was well said, man. We're all those mother's sons today.
I really appreciate you guys, by the way. I hope you know that. Sometimes we have disagreements, but you guys are really amazing people. I'm really happy to be by your side in all of this. Especially given that you're not Iranian and you're showing so much care for our people. I really don't know how to respond to that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So guys, again, for anybody who might be new here, when I leave, the conversation doesn't stop here. You guys could continue without me. And again, I heard that it's much better when I leave because there's nobody pushing you to stop talking. So Jose is saying thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. All right, so guys, this could go on for hours and hours after I leave in this discussion room, so keep the conversation going. And now there's no more time limits, so just when I leave, the only rule is be respectful to each other. That's the only rule. Okay, there's no other rules. You could go on as long as you want. And oh, special thanks to Ali for modding today. Special thanks for Nail Bunny with her amazing presentation. I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting her to just give us a talk for 10 minutes, but I didn't expect all of that detail. That was amazing. I think that segment is going to be the best video on UK elections that is out there. So thank you to Nail Bunny for that, and also thank you to everyone else, and Sketch for making us want to cry today. Thank you for the Mother's Day message as well. That was very touching. Oh, we got a super chat. Super chat was saying, we got a super chat saying, Armin, I want to send something to you in WhatsApp. What is your contact and details? Just email me, guys. Email me, email.com, armin.navobi@gmail.com. And thank you for the super chat. All right, guys. I'll see you guys same time tomorrow. I'm Israel Chai. Long live America. Javicha and Payandeiran. See you guys tomorrow.